Yeah, what's going on, everybody? It's the brand new reaction for you guys today. We had a few reaction videos come out. We're in the middle of getting some other content ready that we're working on. But this came across the video recently. It was uploaded like a couple weeks ago, but I came across it like yesterday from Forest Gaming. The problem with the game reviews. As a game reviewer, I wanted to freaking check it out, watch it with you guys, and basically give my 2 cents on this conversation as someone who does do reviews. Generally, comes from my reviews, I put a lot of effort and time into playing a game and combing through what I think about pretty much every detail of that game, whereas like a lot of reviews is rushed out. Like a lot of people give like review codes and it's all about being the first to upload that review because that's the higher chance you have at getting viewers. So like my reviews don't do as good as like a video that I would do that's just a topic on that same game. Like I had a video about Assassin's Creed, and that video I think got more attention than my review of Mirage, or in my Assassin's Creed reviews. I had a video about Liza P, and that Liza video did better than the review video did. So, and that's kind of like just a casualty of being someone who puts time and effort into a review, because their video is going to come out way later than every other review that gets put out. And that's why some people like it's better to watch a stream than just watch a review, because you get like a genuine reaction more so than someone who's combined their thought together and they're going to cherry pick and they're going to nitpick, and also they're not really putting in like a lot of effort into like trying to explain to you their background and why their opinion of this game might be what it is. Because again, for a lot of reviews, either they're paid, so they're even if they tell you that I don't have to say positive things, they're going to say more positive things because they kind of feel like a better chance for them to get more free review codes, because if you're a reviewer who's getting review codes, you're not paying a dime, and so you get this free game and you don't want to get blacklisted. So you're trying to like continue say enough positive things to where that studio will keep giving you a free game essentially. So we can get to this video and have this conversation. Sorry about the sun being the sun. It's in the way. So again, this video is by Forest Gaming. As always, check them out. Link in the response below. The first link in my response below is always going to be the video to the original uploader. Always show love and respect, comments and things like that for and likes to the original uploader. Don't just watch just a reaction. That's what you for all reaction videos. If you're going to be a reaction content creator, or if you're just even if doing like here and there like I do, always show love and respect to those who upload the content originally. Let's get into it.
Every time a big new release rolls around, I am once again reminded game reviews have some major problems. Problem number one, most reviews are rushed. In a majority of cases, review codes are sent less than a week prior to release. On many occasions, in fact, I've received codes with only like 2 or 3 days left before embargo. 2 to 3 days to play through a game, write, record, and edit a review. Yeah,
For the most part in this kind of situation, you're not really putting like that much effort. You might beat the game, and for the most part you're going to rush yourself through like the main story. You might do like a couple side quests just so you can tell people I tried the side quests and they were all bad, or they they were okay. So like that's what a lot of people do. They'll tell you that they beat the game, or they they give like an hour count. Like, oh, I put 25 hours into the game, which supposed to like make you feel like you played they played enough of the game to give you a review. Most big reviewers aren't beating games. Even comes like Angry Joe, who he does beat games, but it's important the same way Angry Joe's reviews is that he pretty much never touches that game again. Like once he does his review for a game, he never touches that game again. He never puts like any real effort into like any kind of real substance for that game. So let's say you're talking about a game that's like a multiplayer game, for example. He might play 2-3 hours of a multiplayer and then never touch it again, but will give you an opinion about the multiplayer as if he plays it on the regular. This isn't a shot Angry Joe. It's just when you're a content creator, such a variety content creator like he is, you're not going to be spending a lot of time on just one game. And if you're a reviewer, you're trying to get a video out. That's like a lot of people who do reviews. They're doing reviews to make they're playing video games to make a review. They're not playing video games to play them. So the goal here is to just make a review and not do anything else, not to like enjoy the game and just try to make a review. So every little detail needs to be, this or that. And they're going to cherry pick. They're going to ignore things that they, prefer in other games if a game that they're reviewing at this exact moment doesn't have or does something different than the previous game.
Less than ideal, to say the least. Even with a full week, you basically have to speed run through a game if you are looking to have anywhere near an all-encompassing review. I mean, ideally, I personally want at least like 30 to 50 hours before I feel confident enough that I can talk about all of the important aspects and elements to a game. Let's say I get a review code and it's a full week, 7 days prior to the embargo lifting. In this kind of a scenario, my schedule would look something along these lines. I'd spend 4 to 5 days playing through the game. So let's say I sit down and play for 12 hours a day. That would be at max 48 to 60 hours. And when we're talking about doing a review for an open world game or an RPG or a live service game, like, forget about it, dude. That's barely enough time to run through the main story with some side stuff, and it is definitely not enough time to do and see everything in the game. Okay, so days 1 through 5, that's me playing 12 hours a day from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m., 60 hours in total, and then you just better hope that that is enough time to make a really informed, in-depth review. Come day 6, it's time for me to sit down and actually process my experience, like think about the game, rehash all of the systems and mechanics, and then write down all of my thoughts in a single day, and then sit in front of the camera and record what I wrote out about it. And then day 7 happens and it's time to edit the review. Now this is typically gonna take between 8 to 10 hours minimum. I mean, especially if we're talking about like working with 40 plus hours of gameplay footage, going through all of that, searching for examples of everything you were talking about. 12 plus hour edits are not that uncommon for that very reason. It's just a lot of stuff to parse through. Now my point here isn't to complain about this process. No, it's simply to showcase that yes, even with having an entire week with the game before it releases, even that much time can result in a review that is pretty rushed out just due to the sheer amount of time you really need. A full week in many cases barely cuts it, but again, having a full week, that's pretty rare in my experience. I would say in most cases, by the time you get a review code, you're looking at 4 to 5 days, somewhere in that ballpark. But sometimes, like I mentioned, I've had even less. I've had like 2 or 3 days with the code before the embargo lifts. So for all of these reasons, most launch day reviews could more accurately be described as first impressions, because the pre-release review process simply does not allow.
What I used to do when I was first getting into YouTube content, I would do what I would call a review in progress. Basically, it will be, if I'm playing an ongoing game, I'm giving you like my first impression, my first thoughts, and I'm letting you know like this is in progress. Like this isn't something that's like a final thing, because games evolve. So that you're playing like a multiplayer game, MMO, things like that, things that where there's gonna be like updates and stuff like that to like alter the game as it goes on. It's a review in progress, and it's okay to like say that. Like it's okay to like have a first impressions video or review in progress, because at that point you're at least being honest with your audience that, hey, we're still playing this game. Like this isn't the final product yet. I don't know if I'm going to do a full review. I probably will at obviously a later date. But if you want to keep up to date with my progress with this game, follow me on Twitch, or if I'm a YouTube streamer, you can keep posted on YouTube. Hit the bell icon so you can get updates. When there's gonna be like a YouTube stream. I'm not a YouTube streamer. I'm a Twitch streamer. Like that's what I would say though. Like follow me on Twitch if you want to see more of this game. Like I'll use an actual like full example. Dark Tide just released on Xbox, and it's like this is an active game. It's not a game that you can just play one game or 2 games or like 3 hours of Dark Tide. Be like, this is Warhammer Dark Tide. This is like, no, it's a game that you're going to want to do a review in progress. So it's like, okay, here's my first impressions of the systems and the game itself. If you want to keep up to date to what I'm doing with this, then follow me on Twitch where we're playing Dark Tide, which I've been playing Dark Tide here and there on Twitch. So like it's an actual freaking real thing. This isn't like just an example. So that's how I would feel when it comes to like a first impression video, which you're referring to, or a review in progress video. But when it comes to like my actual reviews, my reviews come out like maybe 2-3 weeks after the game releases, because I'm putting in a lot of time and effort into like experiencing the entirety of the game and its systems, and going into like the details of it. And the details I go into are details most people don't even care about. Like when it came to my review of Exo Primal, someone was like, who cares about the character creator? I care. I have friends who care about the character creator. Like, just because you don't care about it doesn't mean that I can't talk about it and see it as a negative in the game, where it's, you know, obviously a bad thing in the game that sucks. It's like people have different variations on what they do and what they don't care about when it comes to video game, and that's fine.
Enough time for reviewers to fully think through and digest a game. There is no opportunity. You're playing the game nonstop, then having to immediately form an opinion. You don't really get the time to steep in and really thoroughly think through the game. And even for people not attempting to hit embargo, a lot of times there is the pressure to get out the content while it is still relevant. Even people who get the game on launch day, they will be rushing through their play experience and then rushing to finalize their thoughts just to post it when it's still relevant. But that's only the first problem. Problem number two is that reviews are done in a bubble. Most reviewers, first of all, will only play through the game on a single system, whether that's a particular console or whatever PC they happen to have. And there's never enough time, as we just mentioned, to do multiple full playthroughs. Like, forget about it. That is never happening. What that ends up meaning is that you only ever see and you only ever experience the game as it runs on the particular system that you're playing on. This impacts your exposure to both bugs as well as technical issues. You may or may not experience them. Once a game releases, and there are thousands.
One thing about my reviews is I actually point out the fact that bugs and glitches exist, and I myself may not have experienced them, and I'm not devaluing that they do exist. I mentioned this in a lot of my reviews from where, like, towards the end, I'll be like, you know, I haven't had this issue, or that issue. Like, or I haven't watched a stream, because usually when I do my reviews, I don't watch any content on the game that I'm reviewing because I don't want anyone else's opinions. I want my own opinion, so I won't watch streams, things like that. So, like, I'll be like, I haven't seen any bugs, glitches from anyone else because I haven't played anything else. I don't follow the content when it comes to me making a review. But when it comes to my own experience, I had this bug, and I didn't have, you know, this one that I heard about on freaking Twitter and things like that. When it comes to, like, you know, because you mentioned, you know, playing on different systems, I play games on PC and Xbox. If I can afford a PS5, I play on PS5 as well. I'm an all platforms kind of guy, just, you know, what you can afford. So I play on two platforms, and I get that experience and that opinion from both sides of the platform. When it comes to, like, say, like, he showed Baldur's Gate. When I made my Baldur's Gate review, that was after a Let's Play, so everyone who's on YouTube is able to see the entire Let's Play leading up to the review. But also, people in the Let's Play don't know is that I have multiple characters. I have 8 characters in Baldur's Gate, and at the time I did my review, I was already almost beat the game for the second time. You know, and it's I did my Baldur's Gate video where I did like a tier list for the characters. At that time, most people didn't even beat the game once. At that time, I already had over 200 hours into the game when I made my video about you know, the characters. So, like, I do put in, like, substantial amount of effort and time when it comes to my videos, and obviously the numbers I'm using are at the time of those videos. But at this point, things are higher.
If not millions of people playing on a wide array of different hardware configurations and different consoles, it is only then that we get a good sense of how good or not the game is on a technical level. But when you're putting together a review, you don't have access to that collective knowledge. There aren't thousands of Reddit threads or Twitter posts showcasing the slew of bugs, glitches, or performance issues that a game might have. So I could sit down with a game and play through it for 2 weeks straight, and maybe I only see like a handful of minor hiccups, and as a result, my impression would be, hey, that wasn't all that bad. Like, the game ran pretty well for me, there were only a few bugs, and those bugs weren't bad enough to ruin my experience. So I would say, from my playtime with it, my hands-on in the bubble that I am in, technically, the game seems to be in a good place. And then the game releases, and it's like, oh my god, look at all of this broken crap. This game is a total complete mess. You just can't know what you don't know, and when you're doing pre-release reviews, you don't know what the experience is like for other people. It's also the case that you will miss out on any launch day issues. We're talking things like queue times with overloaded servers, or overloaded servers resulting in poor performance for the people who are playing. Things like rubber banding, or having interactions take 30+ seconds before they register, or like servers just straight up catching fire, and so no one can play for multiple days on end. These could be major problems that you just won't catch. So due to the very nature—
An example of that, of the latter that he just mentioned, when it comes to, like, you know, a game server not working, and like, but a reviewer gets like a review out and they're being like very positive about it. The Actman had a review of Payday 3, or like I don't know if it was like a full review, but it was a video about Payday 3 and how good it is, things like that. And it's like, his review came out think before the game came out. And when the game came out, for like 3 days, people couldn't even play it because like the servers were fucked up. Like that's an example of that. It's like, okay, this person's like giving us glorifying opinion piece about a game that other people can't even freaking play because the servers aren't working. It was like for 3 days. It took like 3 days for the developers of Payday 3 to get the game, up and running enough to where people weren't flooding the internet with, I can't play the game, the servers don't work.
Of reviews being done prior to most people having access to the game, and you only having your personal experience to go after, you don't have any of the collective community knowledge that can show you if there are widespread issues or performance issues or tons of bugs that you just don't happen to see. These reviews are done in a bubble, and so they end up missing out on a lot for that reason. But then there's problem number 3, and that is that publishers, they control the entire review process. Around the time of Starfield's release, for example, this seemed to be a particular issue. I saw a lot of fuss about the fact that certain reviewers and certain review outlets hadn't gotten keys, and people were acting like this was unusual. I'll let you in on a little secret. Every single game release, publishers handpick who gets access to codes, and every single release there are a lot of people who don't get access.
This is why I mentioned before in an earlier video about blacklisting. You might even get like fully blacklisted, but there's a blacklist and there's a whitelist. The whitelist is pretty much content creators or outlets who publishers know they want to give codes to. IGN, GameSpot, Game Informer, maybe Angry Joe, so not every time. Sometimes Angry Joe's blacklisted where he doesn't get a code from people at all because how harsh he can be and how not marketable he is for that particular studio. So like there's just names who publishers will cherry pick, not the developers but the publishers themselves, because they're the ones who are funding the marketing and giving out review codes as part of the marketing strategy. So they'll cherry pick people who they feel like they can give a code to, and they might give like a fair opinion on, or they'll give a more favorable opinion on, so they can get that product pushed. They'll whitelist those names, and then they'll have like another list where it's like, all right, not this game, or it will not get them a review code. Blacklist that name, never get them a code.
Because, of course there is. There's not like some automated system where you check a box that says, yes, I review video games, and then you are instantly forwarded review codes for every single game that your heart desires. No, that's not how it works. Game publishers, many times working with third-party agencies, will handpick who gets review codes. They have always handpicked who gets codes, and they always will, because there's no other way. Unless they're just like handing out codes to whoever the hell signs up, there is some sort of a vetting process that goes into who is given early access.
Yeah, it's definitely a vetting process. I've actually applied for a review code from an agency. It was like a third-party agency, and I forgot the name of the agency was, but I applied. It was for Starfield. I applied for a review code for Starfield. Didn't get one because a lot of agencies, you have to have a certain minimum when it comes to your content creation. So you got to have a certain number of followers, a certain number of average viewers, things like that. For example, YouTube, most at the minimum they want you to have at least 1,000 freaking like subscribers. We're like under 430. They kind of want you to be someone who's averaging at least 800 to 1,000 viewers. On Twitch, they want you to be someone it's a Twitch partner. You got at least a couple thousand followers. I'm at 200. They also want you to be someone who's averaging at least 100 viewers on Twitch. So like there's a requirement, a minimum requirement that you have to have in order to like at least be considered. Like the numbers I just mentioned to you are even like a guarantee. That's just what they'll consider you for. So if you don't have that, they don't think you exist. They don't view you as a real content creator. You can make videos on YouTube every single day and take this very serious and put a lot of effort into it. But if you don't have the minimum requirements that other like third-party studios will look at, they don't view you as a serious content creator, and they also don't see you as someone who has the outreach to market their product. Because at the end of the day, they're using you as advertisement. They're giving you a game for free, and you're going to advertise their game. They don't want to give you a free game to advertise if your outreach is 40 people, if your outreach is 5 people. That's not what they want to do. And the same thing was like trying to join like an org or a group or anything like that. Like Mythic Talent, which is something that ODK has. Mythic Talent doesn't want a streamer under their brand who only has 200 freaking followers and averaging 3 viewers. So they don't see you as a serious content creator.
To them releasing. Now there are like key distribution platforms that help facilitate this stuff, sites like Keymailer and Rainmaker, Lurkit, and others, but even those aren't completely automated and guarantee that you will receive keys. They are still, you just sign up for them. It's basically a place to register, and then the publishers, either personally or through those third parties, will pick the ones who get access to those keys. The unfortunate reality is, it's like not the right of every reviewer to get a code for every game prior to launch. Publishers are under no obligation to give out codes to anyone, actually. There are benefits, right? Especially for a company who thinks people will enjoy their game. Positive reviews, after all, they are free marketing. But on the flip side, negative reviews are, well, not something that they are looking forward to getting, right? So, and while it would be best for consumers, and in an ideal world, everyone who wants a review code would get one, that's just not how this works. Pre-release access to games, by its very nature, is 100% at the whims of the publisher. They choose who gets to play their games early. And because of this, there's a huge side effect, and that is that of incentives. To get early access, the publishers have to approve you, basically. Now, assuming the best, most noble of intentions, they will do this so long as they think you're going to give them a fair review. But assuming the worst of intentions, they'll only give you access if they think you'll give them a positive review, or at the very least that you will go easy on the game. Now, how individual reviewers navigate this issue of incentives, it can vary wildly. At the very least, consciously or not, you can certainly imagine how this is going to potentially affect the review process and how someone judges a game and then what they express about that game. I'll say personally, I am in the position where, running my own channel, I have the luxury of only reviewing games that I am already interested in. I don't have to, nor do I spend time on genres or games that I think I'm not going to like. So as a baseline, I tend to go into review.
The small channel, pretty much I'm a nobody. As a nobody on any content creation, that's a luxury that I also get, more so via the fact that, it's what I want personally. Because like I said, I'm a variety content creator. I don't have to do a review on games that I don't care about. I say this all the time. I tell this on my Twitch stream. It's like, I don't play any video games that don't interest me. I don't do reviews on games that don't interest me. Because if here's how I view it for me personally, a review is only worth it if you know for a fact the person giving you that review has experience with this kind of like game, has experience with this kind of genre. So if I give you a review for Lies of P, it's important to know that I play Souls games and not someone who's just my first time playing a Souls game. If I give you a review of Mortal Kombat, it's important to know that I've played Mortal Kombat before. And I say in my videos, my reviews, I'll let people know like, hey, I have played all the Assassin's Creed games, so here's my review of Mirage. So it gives you like an understanding, like, oh, he knows what he's talking about, he has experience with this product. I don't care about like Stardew Valley. So if you see me doing a Stardew video, why would you watch it? Especially if I told you before that I don't care about it. Like, I have that luxury, just via the fact that I'm a variety content creator, but also I'm a small content creator who's not being forced to do one thing. To where it's like, I'm not going to give you guys a review of something that doesn't interest me. I'm not going to review games that I don't care about. I'm not even going to review like games I do care about, because that's not what I want to focus on the channel. Like, I play sport games here and there, not a lot, but I don't do reviews of sport games because like, it's not the focus of my channel. You're not going to like, the games I review are games you'll see me streaming. I don't stream sport games anymore. So it's like, why don't I give you a review of a piece of content that I play casually, essentially? Same thing, it's like Forza just came out and I want to do content around it because, I like racing games, but I'm not like a massive racing game player. So it's like, I don't want to make content around this, and it's not something I'm passionate about. I don't have the passion to make sport content. I have the passion to make racing content. But I do have passion to make Assassin's Creed content and Destiny content and Mortal Kombat content and so on and so on.
Doing most games, at least with the assumption that there's a good chance I will like it. I'm not wasting my time on things that I have no interest in.
Right.
I don't have to. But it's also for that reason that if there's a game that I'm looking forward to and I get time with it and there are things I really don't like about it, I am more than happy to lean into those issues, because it can be a huge disappointment. But yeah, I'm reviewing games that I'm generally expecting to like. If I don't like them, I will certainly talk about it. I do sometimes get the criticism that a lot of my coverage tends to be positive, but that's just because as a hobby and how I run my channel, I'm just talking about things that I enjoy. And if there are things that I enjoy or think I would enjoy and they let me down, dude, I'll blast it. You can run through my videos. There's plenty of room for criticism, and I'm more than happy to give it. So the less desirable aspect of this entire process of having to interact with publishers and request keys is, why do you or do you not end up getting picked? Was it because they don't think you'll give a fair review? Was it because they don't think you'll give a positive review? Was it because you made content in the past criticizing the company or some of their prior games? Was it because they once sent you an email and you never responded to it and that really bothered them, so they blacklisted you? Sounds ridiculous, but this can absolutely happen. Remember, the people handing out keys, they are people, flaws and all, just like the rest of us. People can be petty, and it can definitely happen. And the bottom line is, many times you will just never know. It could be any one of those things or none of them at all. Maybe they just decided they were very limited. They were only going to send.
Another reason why you might or not might get paid for reviews is your language. You have to understand that again, you are being used as essentially a free marketing system. The game is your payment. Most people who do sponsored videos or ad videos, they're not being paid to do the video. The payment is the game. Let's like if it's something like else where it's like, hey, just play our game, that's like a free to play video game, then there's like a monetary transaction. Like someone's doing like an ad for like Raid Shadow Legends or Genshin Impact, there's money being exchanged there. But when it comes to like a review copy, the review copy is your payment. And a lot of those studios, they want to be able to put your content in a complexion. So let's say Lords of the Fallen they want to be able to make a YouTube video where they market reviews. They want to be able to like look at your content and see that your content is marketable, meaning they don't want to like go through your YouTube videos or your Twitch streams and hear you cursing, every other like word or sentence. So your language and how safe for work you are could dictate, these studios giving you review copies. Again, that's another reason why Angry Joe might get passed over sometimes, not because they don't like his reviews, but because his language isn't something that they can put into their own YouTube channel or on their own Twitter page to like market the game, because it's not safe for work language.
Out 30 review codes in total, and you simply didn't make the cut. I'll tell you, that's happened to me plenty of times. There have been tons of games, even just in the past 6 months, that I've been wanting to cover, wanting to review. I'd reached out numerous times, just never heard anything. It absolutely happens. And it could be any of those reasons. It could be none of them, like I said. Those are 3 of the probably biggest issues that I see with video game reviews. The great news is they all have one simple solution, and that is post-launch reviews. Post-launch reviews have no time constraints. They're not trying to meet an embargo, so they're not having to speed rush through a game to get it out at the same time as everyone else. The only time constraint here could just be like that of the reviewer themselves. If they're, trying to upload 1 video a week, then maybe that just falls in within some time restraints there. But there's no embargo pressure and no tight, super enforced timeline that they're trying to complete a review within. They're also not having to do their review in a bubble. They have the time to gather the collective knowledge, to see how things play out at release, and to account for a lot of the widespread issues that other people beyond themselves might be having with the game. And to problem number 3, they don't deal with it at all, because there is no need for them to interact with the publisher and get approval to get access to the game. They're just playing it post-release like everyone else. They buy the game, they play it, and then they share their opinions. So the way I look at it is like this. We've got 2 different types of review. Well, there's more, but for argument's sake, we've got the pre-launch embargoed reviews, launch day reviews, and then the post-release reviews. Reviews that come out prior to release should be used more of like first impressions to get the general gist of a game and what that particular reviewer thought of their time with it. But these reviews will never be all-encompassing. They will always be at least a little rushed, and are without question missing out on some pretty important details, like how did the launch go and were there any widespread issues that I didn't personally experience. Whereas with post-launch reviews, they can take all of this into account, and for that reason, having more time to flesh it out and don't need to chase down publishers to try to get early access. This makes these post-launch reviews way more thorough and having way less conflict of interest, if none at all. Now, this isn't to say that the pre-launch reviews are useless, just that they have some inherent flaws, and I think it's important for you to keep those in mind anytime you watch or read any of those pre-release or on release day embargoed reviews. Personally, when I'm doing any any pre-launch coverage for games myself. My goal is pretty simple. I want to inform people about the game. I want to discuss what I think about them with the time that I spent, while also fully acknowledging that until the game launches, we simply won't have the entire picture. But I just hope to, with my coverage and these type of reviews, give some people a useful starting point, basically. But those three problems aside, there is another major issue that both pre and post-launch reviews deal with, and that is the rating system. That 10-point scale that you see when a game gets 7, 8, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, it's garbage. Actually, mostly useless, frankly, because the why and how different people pick a rating is all over the place. It is so individualized that combining all of these scores with tools like Meta and OpenCritic.
Like I've started doing it again, but I went through like a period of time my reviews where I just wouldn't give a review score. I would just say if the game's good or bad, things like that. And I'll get like my reasons why I think it's good and why I think it's bad. But like recently, I've been putting scores to my games game because like they're arbitrary, but like they give people a general like consensus on what you think. But they're definitely like they don't really matter because you know what makes something a 9 out of 10 versus like an 8 out of 10 is going to change per person. You also got to think about like how serious someone is. Like I gave Assassin's Creed Mirage a 6, I think, and you know there's a lot of reasons for why I gave it a 6 because like there's just a lot about it that I just didn't really enjoy, but I still thought it was like a good game. So like even though it's a good game, there's things that made it like worse for me personally. But those personal freaking like complaints towards that game might be different for another person who might feel like okay, it was an 8 or it's a 9. The other thing about scores is that when it comes to the mass production of scores, when it comes to like IGN, GameSpot, etc. Their scores aren't even like an indication of the actual opinion. The score exists more so because the people who gave them a review copy want them to give them the game a certain score. That way that game can market that score. And recipe for about how they might use your video in a completion video to like, you know, hype the game up. Well, they'll also use your score as like an ad thing. So like you look at a game, just go on Twitter right now and look at any game that just released, you'll always see like a picture and then it has like just a bunch of freaking like scores on the pictures because that's what they care about. There's 10 studios or 10 publishing like backgrounds, IGN, GameSpot, Game Informer, you know, Xbox on whatever, 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, 8 out of 10, like just showing you like all these review scores. The other thing I think he's gonna mention next, I heard him say Metacritic. Metacritic is an aggregate, as in it's a median of all scores together, but also anyone can make a review. Like Rotten Tomatoes, anyone can make a review. Any random blow Joe off the street can make a review. And because of that, you could get some ungenuine people out there who didn't even play the game. They just hate the publisher, they hate the developer, they hate the platform. Like, oh, I can't stand Nintendo, so when the next Zelda game comes out, I'm just going to write a very, very bad review about Zelda, even though I hadn't even played it. I don't even own a Switch. Or I can't stand Xbox sucks, fuck the Xbox. Starfield, let's just give it a bad review because fuck Xbox. And you know, you do that with any platform. So you see like a lot of negative reviews of people who didn't actually play the game. They're just here to talk trash about the game because they have some kind of, you know, tribalism and bias towards whatever platform that they're on, and they just want to be negative because they're miserable, whatever. And that just drives the review score down. So you got to be careful when it comes to like just reviews in general because you never know what you're dealing with. You never know that this is someone who has a bias towards the platform, someone who just being negative, someone who's you know, being paid to give it a review. And this is why, again, I say the best content to watch for, you know, if you want to get an opinion, if you want to get someone's opinion on a game, is live streams and Let's Plays because they're not cherry picked and you see someone's reaction as they're playing the game. Follow me on Twitch.
Makes zero sense, but hey, I'm guilty of this myself. Many of us will still look at these aggregate review scores as some sort of reliable general impression of how good or bad a game is, and we really shouldn't. There was a time when the 10-point review scale was broken up into multiple categories with a weighted value based on importance. So for example, it could look something like this. Gameplay would be worth 3 points, graphics worth 2 points, visuals 2 points, story 2 points, and then performance worth 1 point. And then, depending after playing through a game, what a reviewer thought about it, they would give a different to the decimal point score for each one of these categories and then tally it up to see what the total score out of 10 was. Now there's a reason we don't see outlets use this method anymore because it's stupid. it is stupid, but it at least provided some sort of a baseline framework for how we go about picking a number, as opposed to the common method used today, which for most reviewers really seems to boil down to, like, how do I feel about the game? Okay, when I think about the game, what feeling arises? Does it feel like a 7 or does it feel like an 8? Like, that's how it comes across, honestly, when I see most people attribute numbers to games. It's like they're picking numbers out of thin air. Instead of having a framework that sort of makes sense, even if it is stupid to boil a game down to decimal point values per category. Like, hey, is the gameplay of Zelda, is it a 2.6 out of 3 or is it a 2.7 out of 3? Like, what are we even talking about? Even though that is very dumb, that at least gave some structure to the process of slapping a number on a game compared to how scattershot it appears to be done today. And then there's the fact that most reviewers only use half of the scale, right? Like, rarely, if ever, is a game given below a 5. Although it can be argued, and I would agree, that most games people find worth reviewing are somewhere between a 5 out of 10, because every game below 5, nobody cares about. Like, when I see someone give a AAA game a 1 out of 10, I'm like, mate, how many games have you played? I don't care how buggy, unfinished, or unoptimized a game is, there ain't a single AAA title released in the past 20 years that is as bad as a 1. Have you spent any time on Steam at all? Have you seen the sheer volume of utter garbage that's released every single day? There are so many horrendous games coming out all the time. Those are the 1 out of 10s, not Anthem because it didn't have enough endgame or the story wasn't as good as you might expect from BioWare. Sure, you can not like it, but it's definitely not a 1 out of 10 game. 1 out of 10 games are released 30 a day on Steam. Like that.
Yeah, like he basically, like what he's saying is like it's so 100% true. Like when it comes to like calling a game a 1 out of 10 or 2 out of 10 and things like that, there's no real way that a game, like a real established game, can get to that point. No matter how much you dislike a game, it can't get to the point. Like, I'll give an example of a game that I just don't enjoy. I don't really like Generation Zero. I wouldn't say Generation Zero is a 1 out of 10. It's just because I don't like it. Like, but that's what you get with reviews. So you get people who, this is usually people who aren't like part of any list when it comes to getting picked for review copies. Just like your usual, it's just like your typical YouTuber, you know. And it's like, basically, to say something is a 1 out of 10 is you're saying that there's nothing about this game that's redeemable. There's nothing about this game that's worth your time. Nothing about this game that's good. So he's Anthem example. To give Anthem 1 out of 10 is to say, like, it's basically to say that the graphics look like shit, the combat's awful, the exosuits are awful, the mechanics of the exosuit are awful. Like, basically, you're saying everything about this game is bad. That's far from true when it comes to Anthem. And there's a lot of good things about Anthem. There's also some things that Anthem lacks, and that's where you start to get like a backwards trend. So let's just say hypothetically, let's say all games starts off as a 10, and then as you experience like bad things, it just goes down, right? So like, let's say Anthem starts off at a 10. Well, there's a lack of in-game content. Now you're at a 9. You know, it gets repetitive. Now you're at an 8. Like that. That seems more reasonable than just saying, oh, it's a 1 out of 10.
That is the garbage that deserves a 1 out of 10. But then this raises the other question, which is, what do these scales account for? Like, what are they scaling against? Are we giving games a rating based on how they compare to all other games in existence? Are we rating them to how they compare to the handful of games we play each year, over the past 5 years, over the past 10 years? Are we giving it a rating depending on the one game that we've played for the past 5 years? And the answer is all of the above. Every reviewer, when giving some point value to a game, is using their own personalized scale of comparison, which further makes aggregating these scores completely pointless. And I'm not talking about the fact that like individuals are judging a game based on their own personal taste and preferences. Of course that's happening. That is all reviews are. They are an individual's subjective opinion on a game. Did they like it? Did they not? Why? But on top of that, what I'm talking about is like the database of titles that they're pulling from when they put a rating onto a game is different for every single person. So you got someone who might say, they might play a game and they're like, okay, this thing is all right, but it's not nearly as good as Path of Exile, so I'm gonna give this game a 4 out of 10. But mind you, Path of Exile is practically the only game they played for 10 years straight. So that is like what they're comparing it against. The TLDR of this is basically to say that the 10-point review scale sucks, in particular aggregating scores from different reviewers and then judging a game based on that number. It's totally unreliable. Not only are everyone's tastes different, of course, but also everyone's scale is different, how they are rating it, the reasons why they are rating it, their reference points at which they're scaling it against, how they even use the scale. There's just such huge variance across the board. Review scales, I would say, are only helpful in isolation per reviewer. So if you follow one particular reviewer for a long time, you will get a sense of how and why they give games the ratings they do.
You might like them more often
all of
for
these
it.
different 10-point ratings from completely different people who are using these scales completely differently with completely different reference points, mashing all that stuff together, it feels completely worthless. But not only that, it's especially bad with how it directly affects studios and developers. We got aggregate scores impacting developers' yearly bonuses. Like, hey, if Metacritic isn't above an 8.5 on this game, no Christmas money this year. Or worse yet, this can directly result in layoffs and even entire studios just being shut down. This industry can be pretty brutal, with people spending 5+ years on a project, having it release, and then having half of the staff fired because it's scored below an 80 on Metacritic. I know job security is practically a fable for most industries, but it does seem especially rough for game developers. The 10-point review score system, it is awful. I think we should throw it away. I actually find the simple binary I recommend or I don't recommend this game with a short list of reasons why. I find that to be the most helpful, as has been said many times by others when talking about this topic. Your best bet when it comes to trying to figure out like if a
I personally prefer, when I'm doing my own reviews, I prefer just telling you like why I enjoy a game, what about this game is like, you know, so good, and also telling you why I don't like what I don't like about the game more so than any score. A lot of times when it comes to my score, I do like put a lot of effort into like what that score is going to be, but I only like vocalize like that score for the viewer. Like me putting like an 8 out of 10 is literally just me vocalizing what my opinion is for the viewer who only cares about that score, because a lot of people just care about the score. What's the score? But for the most part, it's the dialogue before that score that matters for me when it comes to my review. And for a review that I might watch, like I don't watch a lot of reviews, but if I do, it's usually for a game that I've already freaking done a review for, a game I've already freaking played, or a game that I don't care about reviewing. But let's say if I watch Angry Joe's review, I'm only watching this review, one, for the comedy of his skits, but two, just to hear his reasons for his opinion. To quote Pingu, who is considered the greatest Rainbow Six player when it comes to Pro League, he said, "I don't care about people's opinions on Siege. I care about their reasons." So the opinion in terms of reviews is the score. That's the opinion. The opinion is this game's an 8 out of 10. What's the reason? My reviews is me giving you my reasons. So my videos might stretch from being 5 minutes long to 20 minutes long or longer, because I'm giving you my reasons for why my opinion is good, it's great, it's amazing, it's, you know, a masterpiece, etc.
Game's going to be for you, if you're going to like a game or not, is to just find individual reviewers whose coverage you enjoy and whose tastes tend to align up with your own, and then hopefully their coverage gives you enough of a good overview of the game, its pros and its cons, in order for you to make your own informed decision. Even better, find a few of them, watch stuff, raw footage on Twitch, and then use that conglomerate of information to make informed purchase decisions. So with all of that covered, with all of the issues with game reviews and some of the potential solutions, why do reviews? What's the point of reviews? Well, there's definitely something very helpful there. Like, why I personally make reviews is I want to just create stuff that is useful and helpful to people. I really do try to focus on providing a detailed overview of what a game is, what are its systems, its mechanics, the content, what's the gameplay loop like, with the hope that I can paint a pretty clear picture of, hey, this is the game, and then add my general impressions, what I liked and what I didn't, and hopefully this lets people decide if that game, with all of that stuff in mind, is going to be something that they might enjoy. Especially when it comes to any of my pre-release coverage, my goal is to just make something that's informative and hopefully can provide a little bit of some early helpful guidance for people. Also, I review because I enjoy it, kind of. It's actually sort of a love-hate relationship, especially when it comes to trying to hit embargoes. Rushing through a play experience can definitely suck some of the fun out of it. There's no question about it. And I don't always love that I don't really have enough time to ruminate and really think over my play experience. Maybe it's just a cognitive flaw with me personally, but I feel like I need a couple of weeks to really play through and really think about a game before I can be super coherent with my thoughts on it. Again, could be a personal issue. Wouldn't be too surprised. So I'll wrap up by saying this. Pre-release reviews cannot and will not ever paint the entire picture, but they definitely have a use. They act as a starting point from the perspective of the individual reviewer. They are often at least a little rushed. They are made in a bubble and can miss widespread issues that they didn't personally experience, and they do have to go through that process of getting approval from publishers to gain access. Unless there are major changes to this process, you should expect pre-release reviews to always have these issues. While I still enjoy making this content myself, I am well aware of its problems because I've been doing it for long enough. I hope to start doing more post-launch reviews in the future because I would like to have more cohesive, fully thought out looks at games, but I do still enjoy doing pre-release reviews. But boy, they have a lot of issues, and hopefully I've done a good job of explaining some of them to you.
It's kind of like how I see, how his take is on pre-release videos, is that they're a double-edged sword. But that was a really good video. As always, his link will be the first link in the description box below. Go to his video, watch it if you want to, but mostly just give him a likes. Make the algorithm gods happy. I be Boy This Gamer Archer. My link to my Twitch will be in the description box below. So I'll catch you guys on Twitch or in the next YouTube video. Definitely a good video. I agree with a lot of his takes, and this video is almost an hour long, because my own takes are present. Like I said, when I do reaction videos, it's not just me sitting here looking at the video, it's me basically making it a full video as like a reply to who I'm watching. My reaction video is basically a reply video. Like as you can look at it, my reaction videos are essentially a reply video. Yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next one. Y'all stay safe. You guys want to be Boy Lewis. I'm out of here. Deuces.